Spirit Halloween creates the most excitement when it comes to Haunter predictions. What ISEs, animatronics, and tabletops could they have for us in 2022? For everything scary, I'm GMHaunts, and welcome to my biggest Halloween 2022 predictions video yet. This is the one that has been by far the most requested, the one that I am the most excited to create, and the one that I'm sure you are the most excited to watch. And of course, I am talking about my Spirit Halloween 2022 predictions. So if you don't know, so far I have done Morris Costume 2022 predictions and Home Depot 2022 predictions, but today I'll be turning my attention to Spirit and what they might be cooking up for the 2022 Halloween season. Now, obviously, Spirit is my favorite Halloween company. I do by far the most videos on it. A lot of other haunters, it's their favorite Halloween company, and Spirit always creates the most excitement for people's predictions by far through any other company. They have their ISEs, their themes, they have their animatronics, and they have their awesome tabletop lineups. There's always a lot to predict every year of what Spirit is mysteriously putting together, and I have a lot of thoughts for what they're doing for 2022, and I'm so excited to share them. I'm going to be sharing my thoughts on what I think they're going to be doing theme-wise, all the way to what I think they're going to be doing for their flashbacks, otherwise known as their returning animatronics. I have a lot of thoughts to break down for Spirit's 2022 season, and I guess let's just get into it right now. So without further ado, let's get to my first ever Spirit Halloween 2022 prediction. Alrighty, so we're going to be kicking off my Spirit 22 predictions strong with an ISE prediction, and that is a school ISE. I'm just going to use a placeholder name of Reaper's Schoolhouse. Now, one of my predictions for ISE for 2022 is that we will see some sort of school and playground ISE. So for this prediction, I actually have my idea, I should say, for both ISEs, the front and the back. Now, I actually have a 3D model created of what this would look like, and you're going to be seeing that on the screen as I'm talking. Now, I predict that for the front ISE, we could see a schoolhouse. Now, that's the 3D model you're seeing right now. I could definitely see Spirit putting together a school for 2022. I could see there being a school building, like in the front. You could have chalkboards. It would have a walkthrough aspect to it, where you could actually walk through it. Maybe you would have some risers with animatronics on the outside. Maybe a school entrance that says Reaper Schoolhouse on it. As for the animatronics, I think you could bring back Ophelia. I think she would fit really, really well since she's like a possessed girl prop. You could have Harriet Hustle. As for new animatronics, you could definitely bring back, make some new possessed kids. You can have some clowns, because I think clowns would kind of fit in there as like creepy clowns on a school campus. There's a lot you could do with it, and Spirit has never really done a school ISE. Before they've done the playground, or I should say more like the Terror Tots thing, but they never did like an actual school building. I think a full school would look really, really cool for the front ISE. Now, I think that if Spirit was going to do a school in the back theme, they could have a playground. I think a playground would be really, really cool. You could have swing sets, you can have kind of teeter-totters, you can have slides, you can do a lot with a playground. Again, you can have clowns in it. You can have some possessed children. You could have a lot to do with it. Maybe it wouldn't even be a playground. You could do maybe a cafeteria would be a really, really cool ISE. You can do a lot to link it with the idea of a school, because a school has a lot of different parts to it. Maybe like a sports field, something like that. Anything that could go with a school. Obviously, in recent years, we've seen that the ISEs have matched with the front and back. For example, last year in 2021, we had the Halloween Factory assembly line in the front and the Halloween Factory floor in the back. In 2020, we had Reaper's Island Village in the front and Reaper's Island Cave in the back. So most likely, if we were going to see a school for 2022, it would probably be something related to the school, maybe the school building in the front, and something related to the school in the back. Either way, I could really see Spirit doing a school, and I think it's a really cool idea since it's never been done before. And I think maybe you could have, one idea I had is doing like digital chalkboards that write on themselves, like a ghost is writing on them, maybe on the walkthrough version, the walkthrough of the school building. There's a lot you can do with a school ISE, and I would just love to see this with some possessed children, some clowns, and I think it would be really, really cool looking to see a school. But I guess without further ado, let's take a look at my second Spirit Halloween 2022 prediction. So my second prediction is actually another ISE idea. This one I don't have a 3D model for, I just have the idea in my mind, and that is a prison. Now, I know a prison ISE has been something that people have been asking for, haunters have been asking for years and years and years. People have been wanting to see a prison or some sort of jail ISE for a really long time, and Spirit has never given it to us, and I think the perfect time to do this would be for 2022, after we got the factory in 2021. Now, my idea for a jail would sort of be a walkthrough aspect to it, featuring some cells. You could put animatronics with like broken cell bars that look like they're trying to get out. You could have fencing and barbed wire. Now, my first idea for doing a jail ISE would be an entranceway or like an archway. 2 risers, just as we've seen in previous years. Instead of have some fencing with barbed wire, maybe have some police sirens similar to what they did with the asylum back in 2013. Have a sign, maybe it would be called like Reaper's Penitentiary, Reaper's Prison, something like that. You could have Jack the Reaper with some police sirens. You could have the sounds of like police yelling. There's a lot you could do with it, and I think a jail would be such a cool ISE, and there's a lot you can do with it. Maybe you can have some broken cells like I was mentioning, but also some broken like cell walls that look like they're made out of stone, but then there's actually like holes in them and you can see into the jail, and there's animatronics like trying to break out. Maybe you can have I don't even know, like you could do a lot of broken stuff I think in a jail. I think that would look really look cool, like the animatronics are trying to break out of the prison. I think that would be a really nice idea. You can have some broken like walls to it. You can have broken cells, like I was just saying. Broken glass is another really cool idea, similar to what they did in the Halloween Factory assembly line, where you can make it look like there's broken glass like in the walls and the animatronics are trying to break out. Maybe you can have like 2 floors to it, similar to what they did with the factory floor, because a jail normally is more than 1 floor, so you can definitely do that with it. As for what the back theme would be, maybe you can have a jail yard. I know that's something that could go with a prison. Again, maybe you can have like the eating quarters of the jail, because I know that's another thing a jail has. There's really a lot you can do with it. And I think maybe like a robbery, maybe like a bank that's being robbed. I think that would be something cool. Like you could have the jail in the front theme, and then like a bank being robbed in the back ISE. There's a lot of different ideas you can do, but I think a jail is the perfect time to do it. The reason I say that is because we got the factory in 2021, and I feel like the jail kind of is in the same vein as a factory, and I think it's a perfect year to do it. We've asked for it for years and years and years, and Spirit has never given us a full-on jail. The Ruins, people thought was a jail when we got a first sneak peek at it, but it was not back in 2014, and I think we could see a jail for 2022, and a lot of things, and another point to it is, a lot of animatronics could fit in a jail theme, because it's more like the Jack the Reaper's monsters got put in jail, so you don't have to have a specific type of character. You can have serial killers, like I don't even know, Hannibal Lecter. Maybe you can do a Hannibal Lecter animatronic. You can have clown animatronics. You can really have a lot of different stuff in there and say that it's Jack the Reaper's prison. I think that would be an awesome idea, and I definitely could see that happening for 2022. Let's take a look at my next Spirit Halloween 2022 prediction. So my next 2022 prediction is one that I know a lot of other people have been talking about, one that a lot of other people believe in, and I do as well. I believe in it myself, which is why I'm bringing it up here, and that is a Barnyard Butcher Flashback Friday. So obviously we saw Uncle Charlie come back in 2020, the 2010 Uncle Charlie returned on his 10-year anniversary. Last year we saw Wacky Mole Clown, a super requested animatronic, return from 2013. And now the most requested animatronic to return is Barnyard Butcher, back from 2014. Now, this has been something that people have been talking about since 2020. After we saw Uncle Charlie come back, people have been saying we want to see Barnyard Butcher. We saw Wacky Mole Clown come back last year, which is another really requested prop. And I think now that Uncle Charlie and Wacky Mole are off of the list, I think we're going to be seeing Barnyard Butcher for this year. Barnyard Butcher has been so requested for this past season. After we saw Wacky Mole, Barnyard Butcher has become the #1 most requested return animatronic from haunters. He's being talked about constantly. Everyone wants to see him come back for 2022, and I 100% believe he will. Like we saw in 2020, we saw Spirit bring back Uncle Charlie because he was really requested. Then we saw Spirit bring back Wacky Mole because he was really requested. And I think now that Barnyard Butcher is being really requested, we're going to see him return. I think Barnyard Butcher could really fit in a lot of different ISEs. Like the ones I just brought up, like the jail. I think he could fit in a jail really cool. Technically, he could kind of fit in a school because he could kind of go on like the outside of it. Maybe he could fit, but definitely a jail he could fit in because he's almost like a serial killer farmer. He could fit in another kind of pumpkin patch kind of looking thing. I think Barnyard Butcher is 100% going to be returning for the 2022 season. I could definitely see it happening just because of how much he's being requested. Now, if you don't know, the company that manufactured Barnyard Butcher is a company called New Sun back in 2014. Unfortunately, New Sun went out of business, but as of 2021, they actually returned under a new name, FU, and they were actually the company that put together 2 scoops. Now that they've been back in business, now they are back, and they have the rights once again to put together Barnyard Butcher. Now, again, previously that wasn't going to be able to happen because the company was out of business, but now that they've returned, they have the rights, they have the schematics for him, and they can once again bring back Barnyard Butcher, which is why I believe it's going to happen, because people are asking Spirit to do it so often, and I 100% believe Spirit's going to listen to us and give us Barnyard Butcher, whether it's online only or in stores. I just think he will be returning for the 2022 season, because of the sheer amount of people who has asked for him, and we saw that happen with Wacky Mole. Spirit have been listening to their fans, and I think they're going to listen to us once again for Barnyard Butcher. Let's take a look at my next Spirit Halloween 2022 prediction. So my next prediction is one that I am really hoping happens, one that I have thought about for so long, and that is a Wacky Mole Clown doll. Now, the reason I say this one is obviously we saw Uncle Charlie return in 2020, and then last year in 2021, he had a doll version made. Hugs the Clown, it didn't happen year after year, but Hugs the Clown came, and then we got a doll version of him. Crouchy came out in 2019, and then 2021 last year, he had a doll version made. We've seen multiple animatronics get made into dolls, and after we saw the Uncle Charlie incident with the year after he came back, he had a doll version made. I 100% think that we're going to see a Wacky Mole doll come out for 2022. Again, I just think if Wacky Mole came back for 2021, people loved him, people really appreciated that he returned. I think we're going to get a doll version of him next year for 2022. This would not even be hard for Spirit and SVI to put together. SVI would probably be the manufacturer of it. This would be pretty easy to do. All you got to do is take the pattern, put it on an outfit, gut his head. He's not going to hold the hammer. Just like we saw, none of the dolls hold items in their hands. Uncle Charlie had his bucket on the animatronic, but didn't feature it on the little doll version. They never put things in his hands. So if we saw Wacky Mole Clown doll, he would not have the hammer. It would just be his body and his head. This would be a really easy thing for Spirit to put together, but I think it would sell really well among haunters because it would just be an awesome tabletop for us, and I would love to see a baby version doll of Wacky Mole. I would definitely pick it up right away, and I think it is going to happen. If they did the same thing to Uncle Charlie, he returned, and then the next year he had a doll version. I think that we're going to see Wacky Mole Clown return, and then next year, being 2022, we're going to see a doll version in the doll section. He would go so perfectly with the Crouchy and Uncle Charlie doll, and I think it would be awesome to see this happening. Spirit has really pushed more dolls out every single year. This year, we saw Vintage Clown doll, Vintage Werewolf doll, Crouchy doll, and Uncle Charlie doll, and so far, total, in all time, we've seen Hugs doll, Good Times doll, Decrepit Emma. The list goes on and on. There's a lot of different dolls, and I really hope we see Wacky Mole get made into a doll version as well, because I think it would be really cool, and it would go along really well with the other lineup of animatronic dolls, and I really predict that's going to happen, and I have very little doubt in my mind that it's going to happen, and if it does, I guess my prediction was accurate. Let's take a look at my final Spirit Halloween 2022 prediction. So my final Spirit Halloween 2022 prediction is the animatronics that I believe will be returning for the ISEs in 2022, and that is Grimm, Caretaker, and Buzzsaw. Now, the reason I have picked these guys to probably return for the ISEs in 2022 in stores, they have drastically different reasons, so I guess I'll kick it off. Grimm, I think he's going to be returning just because he sold very well because of his servo motors. He was an animatronic that is brand new technology. It really wowed a lot of people. Haunters and regular customers are really impressed with how he works because, again, he featured servo motors, the first ever Spirit Halloween servo motor animatronic. He had a really realistic motion. He was a classic idea, just a skeleton, a generic classic Halloween idea, and he sold really well because of his phrases were awesome, his servo motors, and he had a really nice look to him. I think we could see him returning because he's servo motors and he's brand new technology. Caretaker is a strange one, I will admit, but the reason I believe Caretaker will be in the ISEs again this year is because of the fact that his shipments were very late and he barely arrived to many stores. For example, he never arrived to either of my stores, not one arrived, and there were very little stores that got in Caretakers for the 2021 season because his shipments arrived very late. Now, most likely, their Spirit will end up getting his shipments in, late, sometime in the off-season around now. Most likely, they're not going to just try to sell off his stock online. I predict that they're going to just dump all his stock into stores, and he'll be returning in the ISEs next year, because not many stores got to have him last year. I could definitely see Caretaker being in the ISEs this year, because they have a lot of stock of him, because they didn't get to ship it out in the stores for 2021 in time. Buzzsaw, I could see returning, because he sold really, really well. He made it to most stores, but I think he was an animatronic that was big. Spirit enjoyed him very much. And if you don't know, Buzzsaw was actually supposed to be featured in the front of the Halloween Factory assembly line in the entrance where Baphomet was. That was supposed to be Buzzsaw's original spot because of how much Spirit had faith in him in selling and how much they enjoyed him. Now, that being said, I think Spirit enjoyed him a lot for 2021, and I think they'll be returning him for 2022. I could definitely see him popping up in the ISEs once again for 2022. Because of his size, he's impressive, he has some cool audio, and again, Spirit really enjoyed him because of how big he was, and he sold pretty well because of how cool he was. I could definitely see him back again for the 2022 ISEs. I could see him being like a Nightcrawler. Nobody really expected Nightcrawler to return, but he did. I could see that being what's going to happen for Buzzsaw. No one really expects Buzzsaw to return, but I think he will because of how good he sold and how kind of impressive he was because of his size. And again, I just think that Spirit has a lot of faith in him because originally he was supposed to be in the front of the ISE, and I could definitely see him being in the front or the back ISE for 2022. Ladies and gentlemen, that's going to wrap up my Spirit Halloween 2022 predictions. Again, I'm just super, super excited to see what Spirit has for us next year. These are my first predictions for what I have. Maybe I'll do a part 2 if it gets requested enough. If you want to hear more of my Spirit 2022 predictions, excuse me. I have a lot more ideas that I wasn't able to fit into this video. But I would definitely be interested in doing more parts of this and giving even more predictions for Spirit Halloween 2022. Leave your predictions down in the comments below, and I will reply to you as fast as I can and let you know if I approve or disapprove of your 2022 predictions. Ladies and gentlemen, remember as always, for everything scary, I'm GMHaunts. I'll see you guys later for more Spirit Halloween 2022 videos. Goodbye.